An Art Journal tutorial. Leaves are falling, autumn is calling, by Creative Katie. That's me. Take time to hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Select the option to be notified of all upcoming videos. Here's a sneak peek of the finished page. As always, I start with a gessoed paper, and I'm applying flexible modeling paste, Liquitex flexible modeling paste, through these two Tim Holtz stencils. These came together in a set of 3. They're the mini stencils, and they're just the right size for mixed media. As always, when you're done using flexible modeling paste, clean your stencils. It'll just help you keep them in a good condition longer. So after drawing this and removing any excess that I don't want, I'm going to get my Liquitex basics out. Now for the ground, I'm putting some green, some yellow, and a little bit of brown, and I'm trying to push the paint with my fingers into the grooves and crannies of the flexible modeling paste. At the end of the video, I discovered that I should have taken the ground, the green part, a little bit higher. Now my plan was to mix a variety of blues and have that depth of color showing through, the mixture of different colors. And I wasn't totally successful at that. I think I blended it too much, and in a few minutes I add Prussian blue, and it tends to overwhelm the whole page. It's a very, very dark color. I end up solving that problem later. And again, if you like that, then it's not a problem. It just wasn't matching the picture that was in my head. So there's the Prussian blue right now. And it just was it's a very strong color, and it just overtook the page a little bit. Just using the baby wipe, and I'm adding some texture there as I'm lifting some of the paint up. Again, lifting the paint can provide you with some visual interest as well. Adding a little bit of purple. And I'm playing with adding color and removing color, and I'm just going back and forth, trying to get the page to look like what I have in my head. I get out my Lindy Starburst sprays. They have mica powders in them, so I wanted that shimmer in the sky and on the grass. And I'm dripping it through. I really like how it catches in the modeling paste that's there. Just like the look of drippage. Now, the thing you need to remember is that Lindy Starburst isn't permanent. So if you add any matte medium later on, or anything wet on top, it will reactivate. And that's something that you have to take into consideration later down the road. I really like how the colors in the grass mixed. It really does resemble fall grass. So I get out the same stencil, and I'm going to put some of the purple through it to add more visual texture, and then I'm adding silver through it. And I decided not to use a different stamp or a different stencil because I wanted it to be cohesive. I think sometimes we run into trouble when we introduce too many competing stencils, and sometimes we can get a better effect if we stick to similar stencils, if they're all swirls or all round shapes. So while everything's drying, I am using my leaf stencil from Crafters Workshop, and I will put the link to that in my Amazon store in the description box. And I'm just stenciling with dark brown and black on a variety of fall colored jelly prints from my stash. So I went to my big blue box and I dug through the orange and green and gold colors, and I'm just stenciling a whole variety. As usual, I don't know exactly how many I'm going to use, and I don't know how it's all going to work on the page when I start assembling it. So I end up doing more than I need. But I don't throw anything out. That will simply go into a pile, into another stash that I have. Then it'll show up on some iCAD or ATC at a later date. So I'm just cutting out these leaves. And as you can see, instead of being leaves, I'm turning them into fall trees. And they all have these different geometric designs on them, as well as the pattern from the jelly print. So you're getting lots of visual texture and lots of pattern because of the use of the jelly prints. And I'll put a link to some of my jelly printing videos if you want to check out to see how I make them. So I used a homemade stamp and I put those swirls on with the Dylusions paint. And right now I just sprayed it with Spectrafix. Spectrafix is a spray fixative that is going to make sure that the Lindy sprays don't reactivate when I add matte medium. So on these, I had traced out all the designs with my gold Sakura Jelly Roll pen, and they looked quite lovely, and you can't quite see that there. You definitely can't see it very well after I put the matte medium on it. So warning, if you're using matte medium on anything that has sheen or shine or metallics, it will dull that, and you will kind of lose the effect you might be going for. So a better plan would have been to glue them down and then use the Jelly Roll pen, which is I ended up having to do it over again. So as I'm looking through the video, I'm thinking, I really like that sky. There's lots of interest, there's some shine, there's some shimmer. But at the time, I really didn't like it. I thought it was way too dark. And it just overtook. There was just too much pattern, too much going on. So I changed that. So I'm going around all these leaves / trees with my Stabilo All Pencil. And this is just making them stand out against each other and against the background. So I just trace around them and then activate it with a round brush with water. And you can make that as thick or as thin as you like. Again, it's up to you. And if you try to use a Stabilo All Pencil, you kind of have to play with it and get it to do what you like it to do. If you watch different people use it, they all get a different effect, and that's their personal taste. So you can see why I wish the green had gone up a little further. I've got some trees that seem to be floating in the air. I might go in there and just touch it up with green behind there, just so it kind of get rid of that look. So I'm going around with my Sakura Jelly Roll pen, my gold. I love these. They write so well. And once they're dry, they are permanent, although you do have some time to play with them. I did trace over all the geometric patterns as well and replace that. So I've got some white paint, and I'm just going to paint. Actually, this is gesso. I'm going over top. I just thought the background was a little too dark, a little too much pattern. It was competing with the trees, and I wanted the trees to stand out. So that's one way to push things back and to make things fade, and therefore your focal point can move forward. So So you still see the swirls and you still see the texture. And I'm adding more in different places. I want some variety in the sky. And I'm removing some of the white gesso, a little more in places, so more blue is peeking through, and that gives interest. As long as you work before the gesso is fully dry, you can do that. You can lift it up and highlight what you want to. And here I'm trying to highlight the stuff that's caught in the texture paste. I'm giving that a good dry. So then I'm going around with my Inktense block, but I could just as easily have used my gelatos that were out there for that purpose. And I'm using, it's a dark indigo blue. There really isn't any black on this page. And then I'm putting a little bit more dark, adding some dark spots into the sky to make some interest. So I typed out the phrase, leaves are falling, autumn is calling, and I decide to add a little color to this by mounting it on some of my jelly prints. So I'm just trying it out on different ones. And then I decide that I don't want all that white on this one. So I decide to fussy cut very closely around the words. And then I adhere it to the jelly print. This jelly print was on deli paper. I was unsure if I was going to keep the letters in a block together or cut each word apart separately. I ended up doing it separately, but it could have gone either way. Again, that's your personal choice and decision making. But this kind of, by putting the background and the colors that you see in the trees in the bottom, this kind of matches that, as opposed to just putting the white there. And I used the script stamp because it seemed to go with the feeling of this page. So I'm doing a lot of fussy placing. Am I doing it this way? Am I doing it that way? There is no right or wrong. There's just how you see it all fitting together. And I'm using matte medium there. So at this point, using the Lindy sprays was totally a moot point because you don't see any of that shimmer coming through. I could have, before I adhered the words to it, I did think about dripping the Lindy spray across the top and having it drip down, but I decided not to. I'm lining it with gold so it would pick up the gold that is in the details on the tree. And the navy and the gold, dark blue and gold, look so nice together, so I just trim the page again to finish it off. And I sign my name and date it. And then, because I'm me and you can't have enough gold, I decide I want to do some splatters of gold. Get some of that gold back into the sky. So I thin down the acrylic paint. I think this is Martha Stewart's metallic paint. And I'm just splattering the trees, the leaves, the letters, everything, just to have that shine and shimmer. Here's a picture of the completed page. I'm really happy with it. I think it all worked together in the end. And just some close-up shots. The blue goes really well with the autumn colors, the orangey colors. Great way to use those jelly prints that you have in your stash. I hope you give something like this a try. Close up of the texture. Thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and like to see others like it.